What is going on, comic book gang? My name is Bianchi, aka Year the Collector, and I'm back again with another episode from the One World Under Doom event from Marvel Comics. This time, we are covering Thunderbolts Doomstrike number 4. This is technically episode 36 from the entire event. However, in the channel, this is only episode 11. And that is because I am only covering Fantastic Four, Avengers, Thunderbolts, and the mainline books for this event. If you want to know about everything else that's going on, there's like 20 tie-ins right now that you can see them on screen, and you can get caught up with absolutely everything else. But as of right now, you can check the playlist at the end of the video to get caught up with what I already said that I'm covering on this channel. With that being said, let's get into it because there's a lot to cover here. All right, here we go. It's been 2 weeks since the Revolution was captured by the Full Guard Victories, aka Doom's Thunderbolts. Natasha Romanova, aka the Black Widow, has been listening to radio chat day and night, seems like, waiting for any clues on Bucky Barnes' location. From there, we jump straight to Doomstadt in Latveria. In some underground dungeon, John Walker was being held there since he was captured by Valentina, aka Citizen V, back on issue number 2. But more importantly, also being held in this dungeon was the Revolution. Here, Doom was monologuing about how Steve Rogers in America surrendered to Doom. But no matter what Victor had to say, Bucky Barnes and the Revolution are not the same as Steve Rogers and Captain America. And you will see why. Not only I agree with this statement, but why Bucky feels that way. So, we know it's been 2 weeks since Bucky was captured and held prisoner in Doomstadt. What of the rest of the Thunderbolts? Well, 8 hours after the Revolution was caught, Songbird and Destroyer were being transported 30,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean inside a mobile internet center, probably some sort of internet monitor control system for Doom to dictate what stories go into the news cycle and things of that nature. Or it can also be a data center to keep track of any anti-Doom discourse on social media, on blogs, you name it. Suddenly, a ring portal opened with the Black Widow coming through to the rescue. Let's just say Destroyer was excited to be rescued, while Songbird was very pissed that she was in that situation in the first place. The mobile center didn't make it to its destination. We return to what seems to be the present time, back in Doomstadt. Victor continued torturing the Revolution. Doom stated that Bucky Barnes has adopted the philosophy of the Outer Circle after taking them out. Just in case you're wondering, the Outer Circle was the secret organization that debuted during the Captain America Sentinel of Liberty from 2022. Steve Rogers uncovered this group during a mission in Germany. Long story short, the leaders of the Outer Circle were called the Machine, the Money, the Power, Love, and the Revolution. Yes, I get it. Very poetic. They had been pulling the strings and shaping the world from the shadows according to their own views. When Steve and Bucky finally came face to face with the Outer Circle, they'd had opposing views on how to handle them. This is what Barnes was talking about when he said he's not Steve Rogers. The first member to drop was the Revolution, and it was super dramatic too. Bucky Barnes shot right through Captain America to kill the Revolution. Rogers had to do something to stop Bucky from spiraling even more out of control, but he was not going to be denied his revenge, so they went at it. These two super soldiers had an epic match. I won't do it justice by just telling you about it. You just have to read it for yourself. But this was the moment that changed Bucky from the Winter Soldier to the Revolution. In the end, Rogers was holding on to Bucky's metal arm, and as Barnes looked down on his friend, he knew he was saying goodbye, not just to his personal hero and mentor, but to his friend and ultimately to himself. There was no coming back from this. James Buchanan Barnes sat on the empty chair of the Outer Circle as the new revolution. I'm sure you're asking, how does Doom know all of this? How does it tie back to Dr. Doom? Well, the end of the Outer Circle came in the way of Bucky Barnes working together with Steve Rogers to take them down. Long story short, Rogers and Barnes were back to square one, staring down the last member of the Outer Circle. This time, Rogers managed to talk Bucky down, and instead of killing this member of the Outer Circle, they sent him to Dr. Doom. You can pretty much connect the dots from there. Doom probably tortured, interrogated, extracted whatever information he could from the last survivor of the Outer Circle. That's how Dr. Doom knows that Bucky took out the Outer Circle in the first place, and he's accusing Bucky of adopting their fascistic ways of deciding what's best for everyone. If you're thinking that's one hell of an accusation, you're right. Doom is trying to break the revolution, and in that spirit, Dr. Doom placed the two Psy-Temples of He Who Mourns in memory on Bucky's brow. These apparently contain the last thoughts of all who died and are passed to each new Sorcerer Supreme, like Doom, for example. I'm positive these items have some history behind them. I just couldn't find anything on them, sorry. But they gave Bucky the images of the people who died in the Shelbyville incident. From Doomstadt, we go to the Johnson and Phillips Trailer Park located 100 miles from where the Texas-Mexico border used to be. Remember, there are no borders anymore since Doom declared them obsolete. There, we see this unnamed kid fixing up this motorcycle. Stay with me because this is not just one random kid fixing up some random bike. 14 hours after Bucky's abduction, Natasha pulled up to this trailer park looking for the owner of the bike the kid was fixing. He wasn't around, so Natasha left a calling card because the kid said the owner won't be back until the bike was fixed. Why is that, you ask? Well, because this is the bike of Sal Romero, aka Ghost Rider 44. You guessed it, Natasha is enlisting the help of the Ghost Rider. That's what happened 14 hours after Bucky was abducted. Stay with me now. Speaking of abductions, we jump back to Doomstadt where Bucky was being tortured by the memories of all the people who died in Shelbyville. Doom kept insisting that he knew the only truth, that Bucky refused to give up fighting against Doom's rule because he was afraid to live in a world without a fight. As if to say, what does the Winter Soldier, the revolution, does when there are no more wars, no fights, no conflicts? What does a soldier do without a war? This is Doom's take. Bucky is afraid of having peace. Then he goes to say he knows what is in Bucky's heart. He invited Bucky to accept his fate, and he said the lost glove is happy, which is a direct quote from Vladimir Nabokov, a Russian-American writer. I'm not surprised to find another Russian Easter egg in this series. Lanzing and Kelly, the writers, have all sorts of homages to Russian historical figures. What Doom is trying to suggest to Barnes is a sense of liberation or freedom that comes with losing something that is no longer needed. Losing the glove symbolizes a release from obligations similar to the idea of being freed from burdens or responsibilities. Exactly how Bucky will be free from the struggle of revolution if he just accepted Doom as the ruler and submitted to his will. But the revolution would not submit. Instead of giving in, Bucky just slammed his head against the floor, effectively sending the two Psy-Temples of He Who Mourns flying off his head. Doom got upset. He stated that Bucky was crazy if he thought he would die before submitting to Doom's will. Bucky smiled back and said, "You're bugging. Even if you save the world 1,000 times over, you will still be damning it to hell because everyone will still have to put up with you because Doom is just the worst, right? Who wants to live in a world ruled by a narcissist, insecure, fascist, dictator wannabe?" Don't answer that. From there, we jump to Wakanda to exactly 27 hours since the revolution was captured. There, the Midnight Angels have been on the run since the incident in the Great Mount, from the last issue where the Fulgor victories battled it out against the Revolution's Thunderbolts. Remember, Aneka was seriously hurt during the fight. That's probably why they haven't shaken these Doombots off their tails for the last 27 hours. Also, Prime Minister Folasay allowed Doom's regime inside Wakanda, so there's probably nowhere to hide anyway. Finally, the backup arrived. It was Black Widow. Not only she wanted to make sure that Aneka and Dementi or Ayo were okay, but she needed to recruit them. Aneka and Ayo decided to go because there was some justice that needed to be served still, of course, for what happened previously. Back to Doomsday, where Victor had enough of the revolution. Since he could not break Bucky, he was going to force him to watch as Doom's grip squeezed even tighter on the free world. Victor believed Bucky to be a fool for believing he was righteous, but Bucky doesn't think himself as a righteous person. He just knows that he is right, and there's a big difference there. I'm sure you would agree. He left the revolution in the dungeon, not before throwing a fit like a little child because he didn't get his way. Doom relinquished Barnes to the custody of Valentina, who just came from beating up Walker in his cell just down the hallway. Valentina went on about how Doom's actions have buried something that will eventually come to the light, and because of that, he will not be able to rule forever. When that time comes, she was going to be ready, and for that, she would need mindless soldiers like the Winter Soldier. But the pleasantries were interrupted with a sudden shake on the ground. Fixer patched in through the comms to let Valentina know that something was approaching, and approaching fast. In that moment, Bucky smiled. He said he's not the revolution, he's just the spark, and right on cue, the Thunderbolts bust in to save the day. Songbird, Destroyer, Ghost Rider, Black Widow, and finally, the symbol of liberty himself, Steve Rogers, is here, and he brought the revolution's arm. Yo, shout out to Jackson Lanzing and Collin Kelly, because this story, even though it has been spread through multiple titles, multiple series, it's just one continuous story, and you could call it the saga of Bucky Barnes' Revolution, or the Revolution era for Bucky Barnes. No matter how you want to slice it, this is some good stuff, particularly for Bucky Barnes. There's one more issue left in this Thunderbolts Doomstrike series before the Thunderbolts get relaunched again during this summer. I don't know if this is gonna continue this character growth that Bucky Barnes has had so far, but if it doesn't, this has been a great run, and overall I think this is showing a different light on Doom's character and Doom's actions throughout this entire event. Because if you just read what he's doing in, let's say, Fantastic Four or in the main book itself, you don't really get to see him get his hands dirty like he's doing here with Bucky Barnes. So shout out to Lanzing and Kelly again for writing even more dimensions to the character of Dr. Doom, and everybody else that is here in this run for that matter. What I want to know is what you guys think about Bucky Barnes, about this whole revolution thing, about he being leader of the Thunderbolts. Let me know in the comment section. And with that being said, my name is Bianchi, aka Year the Collector. I want to thank you for watching. You have a blessed day, and remember to read more comics.